Welcome to More Than Renovating, a renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members, who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, it's Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate, and today I have a special guest on my More Than Renovating podcast. More Than Renovating means there's more to just renovating homes and property investing. We like to talk about the story behind the story and the people behind the scenes, and I'm so pleased to bring you John Foong today. He's our special guest. He is Domain's Chief Commercial Officer and Managing Director of Agent Experience. He was recently named as one of Australia's top 50 real estate influencers for 2023, which is only last year. So congratulations, John. He's worked with Google and Uber beforehand in the US for 15 years, and then he came back to Australia to work for domain.com.au. He's instrumental in the overhaul of the Domain app. He's part of the team behind the advertising or the latest campaign with Rose Byrne and Bobby Cannavale. Welcome, John.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, Belinda. Pleasure to be here.
For anybody who has missed it, there's a part one to this series. We talked to John about his personal portfolio, his investment journey along the way, and how it all started for him. You guys know my story, but all of those roads have led to now his position at Domain. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Domain, and we're going to talk about Domain as a search engine tool and the way that my students in the renovation space and also property investors get the best use out of Domain and how it evolved and what's down the track and what's coming up for Domain. So first of all, you started property investing.
Yeah.
And when did you start working for Domain, and how did your property investing journey help you in securing a position like you have right now?
Thanks, Belinda. I've been privileged to be with Domain for almost 3 years. I started, in the second half of 2021. Property investing has played a few ways to get there. I think at the very least, having, bought and sold about 20 properties over the years in Australia and the US, I have a lot of experience with real estate as an investor and the parts of it. So there's a lot of content knowledge. My dad was a real estate agent. My mother-in-law was a real estate agent. So I'm fortunate because my main responsibility at Domain is to make sure that real estate agents get what they need to help their customers buy and sell. But I would also say property investing really set me up in all sorts of ways. I started at the age of 18 investing. I was very fortunate over the next 6 or 7 years that a small $60,000 investment had already created, hundreds of thousands of dollars in capital gains.
Yeah.
That allowed me to, go and study over in the US and do my MBA at Stanford. And that opened up all sorts of doors, working at Google, working at Uber, allowing me to stretch my career internationally and get me a lot of experience which was exactly the kind of experience Domain was looking for 3 years ago when they were looking for a chief commercial officer. So property investing has both helped me with the content, but also provided a financial means for me to take some big risks on myself in terms of learning and jobs, which ultimately allowed me to learn all the stuff that I could bring back to Australia and has been really helpful in Australian business context.
So what does your day look like day-to-day working as a chief commercial officer?
So Chief Commercial Officer has, I guess, two major responsibilities. The first one is sales, and the second one is account management.
Yeah.
I'll start with account management. There are about 10,000 agencies in Australia, about 55,000 agents. They are our partners and customers, and we're very precious. We're very, very grateful to them because without them, we would not have a business.
Yeah.
They, the vast majority of them are using our products to help people who are using them as agents to sell their house. My responsibility is to make sure they get what they need, which could be, hey, I need this marketing material or this data. Or it could be, oh, I've got this problem or this question, I need help. And so I have a team of, almost 500 people who are account managers, account partners, customer experience specialists who are there for all stages of the journey that a real estate agent needs in order to do the job more effectively. So that's that's probably my most important responsibility, to make sure that my end customers get what they need. I do that actually by spending a lot of time with customers. And so I end up spending 20-30% of the time all around Australia speaking to real estate agents and saying, hey, how's it going? What are your problems? Where's the market going? What do you need? I take that knowledge to develop new products in order to help them do what they need to do better. Some of those products help them sell properties better. And I'm happy to talk about all the new features that we're bringing out there that effectively mean that if you're selling your house, you'll get more people to look at that house. That's one angle. Others are items that help them do their job better, like run their office better. So we have a product called Price Finder. This is a very widely used product that allows real estate agents to look at similar properties, to look at all the historical information on properties that were sold across Australia, millions, tens of millions. It allows them to develop a comparative market analysis on how to appraise a property they're looking at based on recently sold. And that's a product which is not for end customers. That's not for people trying to sell their house, but a lot of agents and actually a lot of power users, such as your listeners, use that technology to become smarter about how to appraise and how to think about a property. So that's what I do. I get to develop products and market them and sell them. And then I need to support the folks who are using it and make sure they're getting what they need.
In the end, I think I forever saying the numbers don't lie, data doesn't lie. You've got to look at the data. I think we buy properties two ways and we search for properties two ways. We have an emotional connection to a property, and that's where when agents are presenting properties on Domain and places like that, they need to present the properties looking its best, stylish, good photographs, all that kind of stuff. But then there's the intellectual side of our brain that has to kick in, and we have to start to break down the numbers, and we need to look at the research tools available to us to make really good property-based or sensible decisions based on what we're presented with. So yeah, I really like using Domain. I really enjoy the app. I think all of these free research tools in particular have come a long way. And then you've got your price finders as an extension of those tools. But a lot of the free data available is extraordinary now compared to how it used to be, when you can compare suburbs and the trends and the rental incomes and all of those things all on one page. It's just brilliant for my guys looking for property. They're serious investors. How do you think it will develop in time? Is it something that you are consistently adding to? And what's the breakdown between what people get for free and what people get or need to pay for in a tool like Price Finder?
So let's take Price Finder down, and let me just just give people an overview of what that is and how we have a free version and I'd say professional version.
Yeah.
You imagine every property that's ever been listed on Domain and every property that's ever been sold, and that information is collected through a service called the Valuer General. Yeah. There's photos, there's rental prices, sales prices, there's kind of descriptions, there's maps, all that kind of stuff, right? So that is the body of data that we're talking about. And Domain is one of a very few number of companies that have access to well over 90% of every property that's ever been sold, or what that is. So if you are an agent, you will pay for something called Price Finder, and then you pay for it on a subscription basis, and then you use it as part of your job.
Yeah.
But actually, if you're just a buyer or a renovator, someone who is not necessarily a real estate agent selling property, but someone who's just renovating or looking to buy, you have access to a lot of that through something called Home Price Guide. And what Home Price Guide is, if you go to the Domain app, right, and there's a section in the Domain app called, for owners. Even if you're not an owner, you can do this. What you do is you go into there and you find the section called Home Price Guide, right? So I'll be specific. You literally press on Account in the bottom right-hand corner, and then you see what Home Price Guide. And when you go in there, you'll be greeted with a box that asks you to put in an address. When you put in that address for pretty much any property in Australia, it'll tell you what Domain knows about that. So you'll typically get access to both the current photos it might have. You'll actually even see historical photos from previous listings. It'll give you a recommendation, in terms of the range of value that might be, and it will tell you about some of the descriptions and things that we know. And for those of you who are renovating or buying, doing that on any property in the area is something that's very. Hello, everyone.
Hey,
my middle girl has just walked in.
Yeah, hi, gorgeous. She can stay. It's more than renovating. It's all about family.
All right, sure. All right, you can stay.
Look, what I like about the Domain app, when I was searching for units, or when my daughter was searching for units, I would just pop in an address and it would just show all of the previous sales of the units in that particular block. And you could just scroll through and you could see when they were purchased, when they were sold, the pictures were there. You could see how highly renovated they were, if they were renovated at all. It's just all at your fingertips while you're on the road out there searching.
That's right. That's right. And you know, our mission in Domain is to inspire confidence in life's property decisions. And we think that information, as you talked about, there's kind of a right brain, left brain part to it. You
Yeah.
know, the logical part is what's the data? What's the data? What's the
Yeah.
comparison? Form your own appraisal of what this is worth. And we hopefully give you enough data where you can be meaningful enough to make a reasonable appraisal yourself.
Yeah. And I think you've turned that whole concept into a little bit of fun with the Roseburn ad.
That's right.
Yeah, they're quite,
Yeah.
it's like, how much do you know? And rather than rather than ask kids on their bicycles or confront people on their front lawn or whatever to try and find out what they know, it's all there on the app.
Thanks. That's exactly the know what we know was the tagline. And
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that, Belinda. That's exactly what we're trying to convey.
Yeah, no, it's very clear. And I smiled as soon as I saw the ads. I knew exactly what it was that you were trying to convey. Yeah. So what are your tips about getting the best out of an app? If somebody was going to go to the app,
Yep.
get the best out of it. So let's talk about someone buying, and then we'll talk about what it's like when you're a vendor with your property listed.
Sure. So as a buyer, the first thing is to understand what is your objective. So for me, when I'm buying a property, looking to buy a property, I have two objectives.
Yeah.
I want to both identify for the area and the specifications I'm looking for, which is typically a suburb. I just want to know everything. I want to know everything that comes to market, everything that sells, right? So I think using the app, you go in there, you define your geographical area. You can even paint it with your finger. You can ask, please notify me whenever something comes on. As soon as it comes on, I literally star it, I add to my shortlist, and then I know what's happening, the auction, the open houses, when it sells, and the sales price if it's listed, right? So for me, I just want to know everything selling that's there. That's part one. But part two is I actually, as a buyer, need to always question my search criteria, which is, am I searching for the right things? I also want to like, no, now sometimes I know exactly what I want, but often as a particular, if I'm buying it as an investor, or I'm at the early stage of my house journey, I may not know what I'm looking for. I might be looking this suburb, but actually this suburb is better. I might be looking for this kind of property, but actually a totally different city is better. And that's why at Domain, a lot of stuff we're trying to do is give you not just the house you're looking for, but have the house you need that you may not be searching for. And we have a bunch of technology. We've just announced something called Audience Boost, which basically identifies users that have a similar behavior to Domain, on Domain that you do, and the kind of things they're looking for. And then we serve that up to you through social media and through the app and say, hey, why don't you check this out? You know, and that's
really okay.
And saying, hey, like, I know you're looking here.
Yeah. So you'll be interested in this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fabulous.
And this really is to serve buyers, to help educate themselves. It's also serving sellers, right? By potentially expanding the number of people who might be interested and bid on the property.
How much of a role do you think AI will have in our search for property in the future?
You know, AI is so interesting. I spent a lot of time studying it. I used to sell it a lot at Google. That was back at Google Cloud. I think AI right now is at a very nascent stage.
Yes.
It is actually doing a lot of stuff already in the background. It is recommending what you should watch next on Netflix, what you should buy next on Amazon.
It is.
But, you know, and so it's already playing a pretty decent role, you know, when it comes to search, you know, in general. I think there's a lot of promise what AI could be, and we're playing around with these concepts internally. The ultimate AI would be to serve you the property that best suits your needs, properties in areas you may not be aware of, and even needs that you may not be aware of that you need. And AI, in theory, by thinking, understanding your background, understanding your behavior, should be able to serve you up something that is such a good match that you didn't know in a very, very timely manner. And that was actually what we tried to do at Google through things such as Google Maps. So to me, that's the glorious future. I think we're a long way away from there. I think for now,
it is a glorious future. A lot of people are frightened about the negatives of AI and, you know, when it comes to fraud and scams and all that kind of stuff, but forgetting about how useful it will be for us in our futures, cutting down time when it comes to searching, when it comes to, you know, the right things landing in our laps.
Exactly. One day.
So, okay. So what's coming for Domain? What's in the future? Is it AI?
It's definitely AI. We're always trying to improve the buyer experience.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of when you're using the app, how to make it quicker, faster, easier, more fun, right? So we have a lot of things in the pipeline that you'll see, and some of the things I spoke about there, like, you know, be able to draw the map with your finger and automatically telling you not just the properties for sale, but the sold properties. So you have a sense of how to triangulate the value in your head, and then serving you insights about the suburb you're in, the growth, you know, the population, things like that. These are all little touches, little nudges to help people become local property market experts.
Yeah, they will become experts.
Yeah, and that's ultimately everyone's on a journey. Property is important to all of us. Want to help them get at that curve. I think for agents, we use AI a lot. So one of the ways we use AI is we use AI to predict what properties are going to sell next. We have a product called LeadScope, and we think it's the most accurate on the market for predicting which properties are most likely to sell next 12 months. We have at a 25 to 30% accuracy, which may not sound that great, but actually most of, the likelihood of you just call someone at random is like 1 or 2% that they'll sell. So it greatly increases the effectiveness of a real estate agent's ability to find the next house that's going to sell.
Yeah,
And that's how they make their money.
Listings. Yeah.
Next listen, that's how they make their money, right? So that's a product that's used by, real estate agents all across Australia. That is AI driven. It takes a series of signals, it puts that into an algorithm that then predicts what house might be likely to sell. And that's some of the ways we're using AI. The biggest way we're trying to help what's coming up is we've just announced it's something called Audience Boost. And this is something primarily for sellers. And I spoke of it before.
I was going to say, how do sellers benefit? Yes.
Yes, sellers benefit because, and we've now included automatically for every listing. It's not just a paid add-on. It's something you just get, as part of your paying for it to be on domain.
Yeah.
When you sell your property, it won't just appear to people looking for the suburb you're looking for. We will look for people who are searching for houses like the one you have, right? And even if they're looking for it, we will serve it to them through Facebook, Google, Instagram. They'll see it. They'll see a description of that house, and it will compel them to go and check that house out, even if it's a different suburb or something. And we've made that pretty smart, so it's going to make pretty good recommendations. But we think that is going to really increase for sellers the number of people who view the house and the number of people who inquire and bid. So that's a big deal. And all things being equal, should help them sell their house quicker and for a higher price.
Yeah, so that's just extraordinary. The business of domain and just the different facets of it, the agents, the sellers, the buyers, and just having to link everybody together.
That's right.
Link all of those research aspects together too. Thank you so much, John. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in relation to your work with domain and what we can look forward to?
Is there anything you want to say? No?
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
You won't see, if you're listening on the podcast, you won't see her gorgeous face. She's absolutely beautiful.
She takes after her mum. So I think what I'd say is, we're just really grateful. And the people listening on this podcast, there's agents, there's renovators, there's buyers, there's sellers. You guys are frankly, the most ready users of domain in Australia because
we're over it all the time, all over it.
And I would just say thank you. Without you, we have no business, and our business is here to serve you and your customers. Thank you for doing that. And, I think in the show notes, or you're going to find me, just search me on LinkedIn as my social network of choice. But if I can be of help or you have some ideas or feedback, don't hold back. We've got a pretty great product, but we can always get better. And I'd love to learn from how you're using it in the field and what would help you. Yeah.
And thank you for, just continually improving a product that's already of such high use to us as property buyers, researchers, and people who base their decisions not just on guesswork, but on true data.
Sure. Thank you.
Never been easy.
Thanks for what you provide to your listeners too. Hugely important.
Thank you, John.